in the cold silence of space, where the sun's light becomes only a faint whisper. The universe seems to hide one last secret from us. Planet 9, like a giant wanderer lost in a Nordic winter night, may be closer to human sight than ever before. If that is true, our understanding of the solar system will change forever. What do you think? Share your thoughts below. And now, what strange phenomenon is unfolding at the edge of our solar system? The outer reaches of our solar system have always felt like a quiet shoreline where light fades and certainty dissolves. Yet lately, astronomers have begun to notice a kind of whisper in the dark, a subtle disturbance that suggests something immense is brushing against the cosmic sound. Out there beyond Neptune, where sunlight is no more than a memory, icy worlds drift like forgotten lanterns, and some of them are moving in ways that simply should not be. Their orbits bend, tilt, swing away from the neat choreography that the 8 planets dictate, as if an unseen hand is guiding them, nudging them, or perhaps warning us that the solar system's map is still unfinished. Astronomers call them objects of the Kuiper Belt, shards of primordial time, frozen relics from the solar system's earliest dawn. And for decades, we believed they moved under the simple, predictable authority of the planets we already know. But then something odd appeared. A cluster of worlds that seemed to align themselves like shy travelers huddling together at the edge of a vast train station. They were all moving in a similar direction, their elongated orbits pointing outward toward the same mysterious quadrant of the sky. The odds of such alignment happening by chance were so small they almost dissolved into impossibility. As Mike Brown of Caltech once said, "Nature rarely arranges herself in straight lines without a reason." And Konstantin Batygin added another piece to the puzzle. If you believe the data, then something massive is shaping those orbits. These two scientists sparked a quiet revolution by proposing that a hidden giant, a world perhaps 10 times the mass of Earth, could be tugging at the Kuiper Belt from the shadows. Their idea was not born from fantasy but from calculation, from thousands of simulations that revealed a pattern too elegant to ignore. When I look at those graphs and orbital lines, I feel the same sense of awe as when watching a candle flicker inside a cathedral. A sense that somewhere beyond our vision lies a presence shaping the silent air. And this presence, whether a planet, a rogue world, or something stranger, is sculpting the destinies of dozens of icy wanderers. Some of these wanderers are even more enigmatic than the first group. Astronomers call them detached objects because they live in orbits so remote that Neptune's gravity can no longer shepherd them. Take Sedna, for instance. A world whose closest approach to the Sun is so far away that it never enters the realm where the giant planets can influence it. Sedna travels on a path that should not exist unless something unseen placed it there. It is as if Sedna remembered a different solar system, an older architecture, shaped by a presence long forgotten. Neil deGrasse Tyson once remarked, "The universe is under no obligation to make sense to you." And Sedna seems to echo that sentiment with every apathetic sweep around the Sun. Yet when we allow ourselves to listen, to truly listen to the orbital music of the outer system, we hear the same repeating note, the tug of an invisible companion. Then there are the rebel worlds, objects whose orbits tilt like drunken halos or even move backward around the Sun. Before the Planet 9 hypothesis, These strange paths defied explanation. They were the cosmic outcasts, dancing against the rhythm. But when scientists added a distant, massive planet into their models, the dance suddenly made sense. Like iron filings around a hidden magnet, the rebel objects aligned themselves based on its distant, patient pull. For me, this is where science ceases to be merely analytical and becomes deeply poetic. We are watching the faint footprints of something colossal, something that refuses to step into the light but leaves unmistakable traces in the snow. Some simulations go even further. They show a river of icy bodies flowing inward from the far reaches of the solar system, crossing the orbit of Neptune at a rate that should be impossible unless Planet 9 is there. It is as if this unseen world is sending small messengers toward the inner system, reminders of its unseen authority. And indeed, recent studies suggest at a confidence level of 5 sigma that these messengers move exactly as they would if such a planet existed. 5 sigma, as Richard Feynman loved to emphasize, is the threshold where nature stops whispering and begins declaring. If these outer objects are nature's declaration, then Planet 9 is speaking rather loudly. And yet, for all this cosmic evidence, for all the whispers and shadows and hints, we have not seen the planet itself. The darkness beyond Neptune is vast. The light is weak, and even the largest telescopes struggle to detect an object wandering perhaps hundreds of billions of kilometers away. As Batygin once said, "We know the orbit, but we do not know where the planet is on that orbit." It could be anywhere along a path that takes tens of thousands of years to complete. Still, humanity has never shied away from darkness. We have always walked into the unknown, guided only by a small flame of curiosity. And now, a new flame has been lit. The Vera Rubin Observatory, with its colossal mirror and the most sensitive wide-field camera ever built, is preparing to scan the sky repeatedly in a decade-long cosmic time-lapse. This observatory is capable of seeing the equivalent of a candle on the surface of the moon. It will watch the heavens breathe, shift, and drift in real time. And if Planet 9 is out there, hiding behind the ink of night, Rubin will find it. Thinking about this makes me feel something gentle and humbling. The solar system has never been a closed story. It is a tale still being written, and we are fortunate enough to be alive during a chapter where mysteries re-emerge from the dark. I sometimes imagine these distant icy worlds as characters in a quiet northern novel, travelers walking with lanterns in their hands, pausing at the edge of a frozen lake. They look back at us, waiting to see if we will follow their footprints into the unknown. In that stillness, a lesson presents itself. The universe does not reveal its secrets to those who demand answers, but to those who approach with patience, humility, and wonder. When we observe carefully, we see that every anomaly is a doorway. Every irregular orbit is an invitation. The Kuiper Belt is not misbehaving. It is speaking. And perhaps that is what moves me most about this search. The realization that despite all our telescopes and equations, we are still students of a universe far older and wiser than ourselves. As Carl Sagan once whispered to humanity, somewhere, something incredible is waiting to be known. So if you have felt the same quiet thrill while listening, If these distant worlds stir something inside you, I invite you gently to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Not for numbers, but to continue walking this cosmic shoreline together. Every voice in the comments becomes another lantern in the dark, another companion on the long path outward. For now, the question lingers like frost in the air. What unseen presence is guiding those icy worlds, bending their paths with a force we cannot yet see? And if Planet 9 awaits us beyond the horizon, what will it reveal about the solar system we thought we already knew? The night stretches on, patient and full of secrets. And somewhere in that silence, a world may be waiting for us to finally notice it. There are moments in the story of our cosmos, quiet moments, soft as the breath of winter drifting across a frozen field, when the universe leans close as if whispering a secret we have not yet learned to hear. And among these secrets there lingers the possibility of a hidden giant, a world wandering through the cold outskirts of our sun's dominion, a ghostly companion moving with a patience older than any human memory. The question of whether a ninth planet exists does not arrive like a shout. It arrives like a gentle tapping on the window of our understanding. Persistent, rhythmic, undeniable. Astronomers first sensed something amiss long before they ever dared to imagine a secret planet. They traced the paths of distant icy bodies, their orbits curling through space like brushstrokes on a dark canvas. But the strokes were wrong, their shapes resisting our equations, their motions swerving in defiance of our knowledge of gravity. It was as if an unseen hand was guiding them, nudging them, gathering them into patterns no randomness could produce. And so the whisper grew louder. Could there be a ninth planet? A massive, unseen world, sculpting these orbits from the shadows. The idea did not bloom from fantasy. It rose from the discipline of mathematics, from simulations stretching across millions of years, from a logic as clean as ice and as old as Newton himself. As Professor Konstantin Batygin famously said, "If you believe the data, then Planet 9 is the natural conclusion." His collaborator Mike Brown spoke even more bluntly. "We have not found Planet 9 yet, but we know where to look." These men are not dreamers lost in the fog of speculation. They are among the finest celestial detectives of our era, tracing clues through the quiet realms beyond Neptune. And each clue points toward a world unlike any we have known. Scientists speak of it as a super-Earth, a type of planet that is strangely common in the galaxy, yet mysteriously absent from our own inner family. A world 6 times the mass of Earth, heavy enough to tug the frozen wanderers of the Kuiper Belt into formation, gentle enough to do so without shattering them. Our telescopes have seen thousands like it around distant suns, but perhaps one has been circling our own star all along. To imagine Planet 9 is to imagine a world where daylight is little more than a rumor, where sunlight is stretched thin across the void, pale and cold and patient. A world so distant that its year lasts 10,000 of ours, moving in an orbit that tilts like a wandering thought. The ancient poets of Europe once imagined gods roaming unseen among the forests and mountains. Now our astronomers imagine a planet roaming unseen among the frozen branches of the outer solar system. Yet belief in such a world does not lean on romance alone. It leans on evidence. Patterns repeating like footsteps in snow. the clustering of distant orbits, the existence of detached objects like Sedna, the improbable angles of retrograde travelers, all of them moving as though drawn into a silent dance choreographed by a distant giant. Michael Brown once remarked, "When you add Planet 9 to the equations, the solar system suddenly makes sense again." Those words carry weight. For astronomy is not a field fond of extravagance. It prefers the austere elegance of necessity. And when necessity points toward a hidden world, even the skeptics listen. Still, the universe does not give up its secrets easily. Planet 9, if it exists, is faint beyond imagining. A speck of night moving against a sea of deeper night, hiding in the slow heartbeat of the cosmos. Our telescopes strain to see it, pushing their mirrors and sensors to the threshold of possibility. Yet even as the search continues, there is something quietly beautiful about the hunt. It reminds us that our solar system is not a finished book, but a manuscript still being edited by gravity, time, and chance. It tells us that the map we inherited is not the map we will leave behind. To understand why scientists believe this hidden world must be a super-Earth, we must listen to the story told by momentum and mass, whispered across billions of years. The distant objects grouped at the edge of the solar system do not simply gather themselves. They require a shepherd, a heavy hand, a gravitational voice deep enough to guide them, but distant enough not to disturb the worlds we already know. Only a super-Earth fits such a role. The European astronomer Alessandro Morbidelli once said, "If Planet 9 exists, it is the missing piece that completes the dynamical puzzle of our outer solar system." His words flow like warm breath on a frosted window, revealing shapes we had not noticed before. And as those shapes form, we begin to sense something else, a feeling both ancient and strangely comforting. The sense that our solar system, like every family, may still hold a long-lost sibling. Perhaps that is why the question of Planet 9 touches something deeper than mere physics. Something that stirs in the European imagination, where old myths and new sciences intertwine. Perhaps we are drawn to the idea that even in the regions we thought we understood, there remain mysteries waiting with patient constellations. And so, the search continues. Not with desperation, but with a quiet, devoted curiosity. The kind that keeps explorers awake by the embers of their campfires. We look for patterns, for alignments, for the faintest shiver of motion in the darkness. We sift through cold data the way monks once sifted through ancient manuscripts, searching for truths hidden between the lines. Konstantin Batygin once told an interviewer, "We know the orbit. We just don't know where the planet is along that orbit." And that admission carries a strange tenderness, as though the cosmos has offered us a riddle but withheld the final clue. Planet 9 may be real, or it may be an illusion conjured by incomplete data. But even if it is only a phantom, its shadow has pushed us to look harder, think deeper, reach farther. And there is something profoundly human in that reaching. The quiet determination to illuminate the darkness, even when the lantern flickers in our hands. Whether Planet 9 is a hidden super-Earth, a captured rogue, or only a mirage of mathematics, its story reminds us that wonder is not a luxury. It is a compass. And as long as that compass points outward, into the expanding hush of the cosmic, night. We will keep walking, step by gentle step. For perhaps the true purpose of the search is not the discovery of a distant world, but the discovery of our own capacity to question, to imagine, to listen to the universe as though it were an old friend speaking softly in the dark. And as we listen, we ask ourselves the question that started it all. Is there a ninth planet wandering in the twilight beyond Neptune, shaping the fates of icy travelers with a gravity we have yet to witness? The cosmos does not answer quickly, but it answers faithfully. And someday soon, in a whisper of starlight, it may reveal the truth we have been reaching toward all along. There are moments in the history of astronomy when the universe seems to lean closer to us, as if whispering a secret through the dark fabric of space. When we trace the story of how humanity found its planets, we are really tracing the story of how curiosity slowly pierced the night. It begins with ancient eyes studying the wandering lights that drifted across the fixed stars. Tiny lanterns moving with a purpose we could not understand. For thousands of years they were simply wanderers, fragments of the heavens behaving like restless travelers. Yet even then, people sensed that something larger was unfolding above them. Carl Sagan once said that astronomy is a humbling and character-building experience. And perhaps humility is exactly what guided us through this cosmic search. When telescopes arrived, their lenses cleared just enough of the cosmic haze for us to glimpse a new world wandering more slowly than expected. William Herschel did not set out to find a planet. Yet one night the star he measured shifted ever so slightly, as though winking at him from a greater distance. Uranus had been found, and humanity suddenly carried a new companion in its growing solar family. But the universe seldom gives without asking something in return. As astronomers charted Uranus across the sky, they realized its motion wavered in a way that felt almost mournful, as if the planet were tugged gently by a hidden hand. It moved too slowly, then too fast, straying from the orbit Newton's laws predicted. Something unseen was pulling it, nudging it, shaping its path like a river stone guiding a current. This deviation became a riddle that lingered in the minds of astronomers like a faint melody they could not forget. Alexis Bouvard first noted these irregularities, whispering that perhaps Uranus was not alone. The idea drifted through Europe, subtle and daring, until it reached Urbain Le Verrier, a man whose brilliance seemed to glow even in dim, candlelit rooms. He believed that mathematics was a lantern capable of illuminating the invisible. And so he sat at his desk, rewriting the solar system with paper and ink. He calculated every perturbation, every tug, every celestial breath that might disturb Uranus's course. Where most saw uncertainty, Le Verrier saw a map. And at the end of that map was a world no human had ever seen. To imagine a man predicting a planet with no telescope, no photographic plates, only the quiet rhythm of equations, is to imagine a kind of cosmic intuition. Neil deGrasse Tyson once noted that sometimes the universe is under no obligation to make sense to us. Yet here it was, allowing a single mind to decipher an invisible presence from millions of kilometers away. Le Verrier sent his prediction to Johann Gaillet, who pointed his telescope toward the small circle on the map, and found Neptune glowing less than a degree from where mathematics said it should be. It was as if the universe nodded quietly, acknowledging the success of human reason. The cosmic ocean had revealed another island. With Neptune discovered, astronomers grew bolder. If mathematics could reveal unseen worlds, perhaps there were more waiting beyond. A faint suspicion flowed through the community, whispering that Neptune itself might be wobbling just slightly. And where suspicion flows, exploration follows. Clyde Tombaugh, a young man with patient eyes, spent cold nights at the Lowell Observatory, comparing photographic plates with the devotion of a monk illuminating scripture. On one of those nights, a tiny speck moved against the background stars, barely noticeable, yet undeniably alive with motion. Pluto had entered humanity's story, a frozen lantern at the edge of our known world. For decades, Pluto held the title of ninth planet, orbiting like a reclusive poet living far from the warmth of the sun. Yet, as our telescopes sharpened, we found other icy bodies whispering through the Kuiper Belt. Some nearly Pluto's size, some even larger. The solar system began to look less like a tidy family and more like a bustling archipelago of frozen islands. In this new landscape, Pluto's uniqueness faded like a memory carried too long. The International Astronomical Union faced a difficult truth and redefined what it meant to be a planet. Pluto, delicate and distant, no longer met the criteria. It had not cleared its orbital neighborhood, and so it slipped into the category of dwarf planet. A change that wounded the hearts of many who had grown up imagining it as the final jewel in our planetary chain. Yet, in a way, Pluto's demotion was not a loss, but an opening of the cosmic stage. It reminded us that the universe is not bound by our nostalgia, and that discovery is always reshaping our understanding. Alan Stern, principal investigator of the New Horizons mission, once said that Pluto is a planet in its own right, no matter what bureaucrats choose to call it. His sentiment echoes the truth at the heart of astronomy, that the cosmos does not shrink or expand according to our definitions. We adapt to it, not the other way around. This long path from Uranus to Neptune to Pluto reveals a deeper story, one that unfolds softly, like a piece of music played beneath starlight. Each discovery was a moment of alignment between human curiosity and cosmic mystery. Uranus taught us that even predictable worlds can drift, hinting that something unseen waits beyond. Neptune taught us that mathematics can touch the invisible, turning equations into revelations. Pluto taught us that definitions evolve, that discovery is not a straight line but a spiral, a slow unfolding of truth across time. As we drift deeper into this narrative, the slow, meditative rhythm of astronomy becomes clear. It is a discipline shaped not only by instruments, but by waiting, by listening, by letting the night speak in its own language. The cosmos rarely shouts. It whispers, and those whispers require stillness. James Clerk Maxwell once said that thoroughly conscious ignorance is the prelude to every real advance in science. And perhaps that is why each planetary discovery feels like waking gently from a long dream. When we reflect on this lineage of exploration, we see how seamlessly one mystery leads into the next. The wobble of Uranus became the clue for Neptune. The presence of Neptune inspired the search that revealed Pluto. And Pluto's reclassification expanded our awareness of the vast, cold domains beyond. An awakening that now draws our attention toward an even greater enigma. Through this gentle unfolding, astronomy becomes less a field of equations and more a meditation on existence. Each world we discover is a reminder that the universe has its own rhythm. Slow, ancient, patient. Much like the tides, nothing in the cosmos rushes. Everything arrives when it must. And so the search continues, not with feverish haste, but with a calm understanding that the next revelation will emerge like dawn bending over a silent horizon. In the end, the history of finding planets is the history of learning to see, not only with our eyes, but with intuition, mathematics, and a willingness to believe that the universe is larger than our present understanding. Perhaps that is why these stories feel less like scientific episodes and more like chapters in a long cosmic poem. They remind us that to search is to be human, and to discover is to glimpse the universe, discovering itself through us. And as the tale of Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto settles like stardust in the mind, a new question rises softly from the edge of the solar system, steady as a heartbeat in the dark. Are there worlds we have yet to see, hidden just beyond the reach of our instruments, waiting to be revealed as gently as their predecessors once were? The narrative invites us forward, a continuation of the same cosmic melody that has carried us through centuries. And now, as we breathe with the slow rhythm of the stars, one question emerges like a lantern glowing at the edge of an ancient path. What strange phenomenon is beginning to unfold in the farthest reaches of our solar system, out beyond Neptune's pale frontier, where sunlight fades into a silver murmur and space becomes a cathedral of slow-breathing ice? Something extraordinary begins to reveal itself. It starts as a whisper in the orbital patterns of distant worlds, tiny fragments of ancient rock drifting far beyond the familiar paths of our planetary family. These objects, scattered across the Kuiper Belt like glowing embers left over from the dawn of time, should have wandered in random directions. Yet they do not. They turn, gracefully, improbably, toward a shared alignment, as if answering a call from something hidden in the darkness. Astronomers noticed it first as an uneasy hum in the data, a subtle pattern that should not exist in a universe ruled by chance and gravitational symmetry. Konstantin Batygin once said that the alignment of these bodies is too strange to ignore, and in his soft, almost amused voice he added that when the outer solar system speaks in patterns, one must listen. This alignment is not a small coincidence. It is a choir of icy worlds turning their heads toward the same dark corner of space, repeating the same silent message across millions of kilometers. If randomness were the sculptor here, these orbits would scatter like autumn leaves in a northern wind. They would tilt in every direction, follow no order, and carry no rhythm. But they do not. Their perihelia cluster like candles circling a shrine, burning faintly at the very edge of the sun's influence. Mike Brown once remarked that nature rarely organizes itself this neatly without a reason, and his words linger in the air like dust drifting through the old halls of an observatory at midnight. The probability of such perfect alignment happening by mere chance is astonishingly low. Some calculations place it near 1 in several thousand, others even less. In either case, Randomness becomes an implausible storyteller. When so many distant worlds choose to lean in the same direction, the cosmos hints that another presence is shaping the dance. This is where simulations step into the story. Not as cold mathematical machines, but as lanterns illuminating the unseen. Researchers recreated the solar system inside a digital universe, letting billions of years pass in the span of minutes. They placed the known planets in their rightful positions, let gravity weave its invisible threads, and watched how the distant Kuiper Belt objects should behave. Without any additional influence, the orbits scattered, drifted, dissolved into randomness exactly as physics predicts. But when they introduced a ninth planet, something graceful emerged. A world 6 times the mass of Earth, placed far beyond the reach of Neptune, began to tug on the icy objects in slow, patient arcs. Over millions of simulated years, these distant worlds fell into alignment, each one finding a stable path that mirrored the real objects astronomers observed. The simulations spoke with the clarity of ancient prophecy. Point a massive planet into the void, and the outer solar system responds in perfect harmony. It is a humbling experience to watch science and poetry blend so effortlessly. For in those swirling lines of orbital data, one can feel the quiet logic of the universe unfolding like a slow tide. The idea that a hidden planet could choreograph such beauty carries both scientific weight and almost spiritual serenity. As theoretical physicist Lisa Randall once wrote, "Sometimes the universe hides its truths in patterns so subtle that only patience can unveil them." And here, in the cold outskirts of our cosmic home, patience has finally begun to reveal its gift. The question of why these objects align is more than a curiosity. It is a wound in the fabric of our understanding, a place where our neat models begin to fray. Without Planet 9, the outer solar system becomes chaotic, unpredictable, and strangely inconsistent with the laws that shape the orbits of every world we know. With Planet 9, everything settles, as though a conductor has returned to a drifting orchestra and quietly raised the baton. And yet, there is beauty in the uncertainty as well. The search for this hidden planet has rekindled a sense of wonder that astronomy sometimes forgets in its calculations and charts. It reminds us that our solar system is not a completed puzzle, not a finished symphony, but a living, evolving system with mysteries still humming beneath its surface. Each aligned orbit whispers of something vast straying just beyond our sight, waiting with the patience of a winter star for us to finally look deeply enough. The alignment of these distant objects is not merely evidence, it is an invitation, a soft pull on the imagination of every scientist who gazes into the dark. One can almost feel the presence of Planet 9 moving silently through its immense elliptical path, a ghostly shepherd guiding its fragile flock of icy worlds. Through the long, dim centuries of the solar system, it has tugged them gently, sculpting their orbits with a patience only the cosmos truly understands. There is a moment in every great scientific mystery where knowledge blends with longing, where numbers and equations become indistinguishable from the quiet yearning to understand our place in the universe. And somewhere in that twilight lives Planet 9, or at least the shape of its influence. Like a candle flickering behind frosted glass, its light does not yet reach us directly, but its warmth bends the world around it. Many astronomers have spoken of the elegance of these orbital clues, but it was Batygin who phrased it most gently when he said that the outer solar system is trying to tell us something. And perhaps that is the most poetic truth of all. The universe does not always reveal its wonders by brightness. Sometimes it speaks through shadow, through silence, through subtle patterns in the paths of forgotten worlds. As we drift deeper into this mystery, as upcoming observatories sharpen their gaze and the darkness softens under their watch, we sense that the moment of revelation is approaching. The alignment of the Kuiper Belt objects remains the first and perhaps the most haunting clue. A celestial breadcrumb trail arcing across the void. And now, as we breathe with the slow rhythm of the cosmos, another question rises gently from the silence, like dawn breaking over a frozen horizon. If these ancient icy wanderers are truly pointing toward something, what exactly waits for us in that cold and distant dark? They drift in the darkness like lanterns set afloat on a silent northern sea. Sedna and the other distant bodies do not behave like the worlds we know. They do not bow to Neptune's gravity, nor follow the choreography expected of children of the sun. Instead, they circle on immense paths, so elongated that even the outermost giant planet cannot touch them. Their distance is a soft astonishment, a reminder that the solar system still holds regions where our maps fade into uncertainty. And as astronomers stared into this cold frontier, they realized these objects were not merely far. They were detached, separated, untethered from the realm of Neptune's influence, as if guided by a whisper from something unseen. The story of Sedna begins in that twilight zone where sunlight grows thin enough to feel like memory. Discovered in 2003, Sedna travels on a path so long that a single orbit takes more than 10,000 years. Its closest approach to the Sun never brings it near Neptune, meaning Neptune could not have pushed it outward. And the same is true for 4 other objects that share this mysterious architecture. They live in the solar system yet never fall under the touch of the giants. To understand the quiet rebellion of these worlds is to understand why astronomers began to feel the presence of an invisible hand. Mike Brown once remarked that Sedna is the most lonely object in the solar system, a world that by all laws of orbital dynamics should not exist where it is. And in that loneliness, something began to speak. When scientists simulate the early solar system, the planets scatter debris like sparks blown from a fire. Jupiter flings objects outward with violent efficiency. Saturn nudges them into long, looping arcs. And Neptune acts as a gatekeeper. Any body approaching its orbit is either captured, redirected, or hurled into the Kuiper Belt. But Sedna and its companions are beyond even Neptune's reach. Their closest distances are too far to be shaped by that giant's pull. As the planetary scientist Scott Shepard once said, Sedna never gets close enough to Neptune to feel its gravity in any meaningful way. The question echoes gently through the darkness. So who shaped them? Some theories imagined an ancient star passing near our infant sun, stirring the orbits like the wake of a ship on still water. Others envisioned that these objects formed where they are, though that requires a disk of material stretching impossibly far. But the more astronomers calculated, the more they returned to a possibility that once sounded fantastical. Today, it is whispered with the soft confidence of a truth waiting to be found. A massive, unseen planet, a shepherd in the dark. Here the evidence grows quiet but firm. If a super-Earth or mini-Neptune 6 times the mass of our world travels on an orbit hundreds of astronomical units away, it would gently lift these distant objects over billions of years. Not by violence, not by chaos, but by slow gravitational persuasion. Its presence would nudge Sedna outward, disentangling it from the inner solar system. It would draw other bodies into aligned paths like reeds bending in the same wind. And it would explain why 5 detached objects share similar orbital angles, a pattern too precise to be sculpted by chance. Konstantin Batygin described it beautifully when he said, "Planet 9 acts like an unseen conductor, guiding the orbits of distant objects into a coherent structure." His words drift like a quiet melody, a reminder that even in the cold vacuum, harmony can exist without being seen. The simulations he and Brown created reveal a universe where Sedna's strangeness is not a glitch, but a message. A message that something out there is shepherding the outer solar system with the gravity of a world still hidden in night. It is worth imagining this unseen planet not as a tyrant, but as a distant guardian. Over billions of years, it would slowly lift the perihelia of certain bodies, pulling them into elongated paths that avoid the chaotic tug of Neptune, like a gentle hand guiding a drifting boat closer to shore without ever touching it. Planet 9 would reshape the outer system with patience older than civilization itself. Its influence would echo across epochs, producing exactly the type of detached objects we observe today. As each simulation played forward through imaginary time, the patterns repeated like the tide. Detached objects formed, spread, then settled into the stable shapes we now measure with our telescopes. Without Planet 9, these same simulations collapse into disorder. Neptune alone cannot lift these objects so high nor maintain their alignment across cosmic centuries. The astrophysicist Juliet Becker captured this gently, saying, "Without Planet 9, these orbits simply don't make sense." And so the question becomes a meditation. If multiple lines of gravitational logic point toward an unseen world, does that world not already exist in the mathematics that describe it? The sky often reveals its truths long before the eyes see them, just as a shoreline reveals the presence of a distant moon through its tide. Perhaps the orbits of Sedna and its siblings are the tides of a planet we have not yet glimpsed. A signature written in the ice, waiting for us to understand. Between each idea, there is a quiet breath. A reminder that knowledge does not arrive in leaps but in soft unfolding. The detached objects are not anomalies. They are invitations. Their orbits do not shout. They whisper. And if we listen closely enough, we may hear the gravitational rhythm of a world moving slowly through the deep outskirts of our solar system. The thought alone brings a kind of warmth, a sense that the universe is far from finished with its surprises. As night telescopes search these distant regions, the Vera Rubin Observatory prepares to scan the entire sky with a sensitivity that feels almost mythic. Within its lenses, the quiet footprints of Planet 9 might finally appear. A faint point of light shifting ever so slightly from night to night. Until then, the detached objects will continue their long, slow dance, moving with a serenity that feels almost human in its longing. And with every orbit they trace, They remind us that mysteries endure not to frustrate us, but to deepen our sense of wonder. And now, as we drift further into this gentle labyrinth of gravity and time, the question rises like a pale moon over a winter horizon. If these worlds are pulled into such distant solitude by an unseen companion, what other stories are written in the cold outskirts of our cosmic home? The outer solar system drifts like a vast and half-forgotten dream. A quiet region where sunlight thins into a pale silver breath and time seems to fold into itself. Out there, among the slow-moving embers of creation, astronomers have found a strange choreography, or perhaps a broken one. Bodies of ice and ancient stone circle the sun in ways that appear almost rebellious. Some tilt so steeply that they slice upward through the solar system like needles piercing fabric. And some even reverse their direction entirely, moving backward against the flow of every major planet we know. This is the third and perhaps most unsettling line of evidence whispering about the presence of Planet 9. When scientists first plotted these orbits onto the celestial map, they found patterns that did not belong to the calm order taught in elementary books. These small worlds were not simply eccentric. They were disobedient. Their inclinations reached angles that defied the gravitational symmetry of the solar system, as if each object remembered a different origin story. Some paths twisted high above the sun's equatorial plane. Others dived far below. And a few turned upon themselves, spinning retrograde like old dancers, moving to a rhythm only they could hear. Astronomer Scott Tremaine once remarked that the outer solar system is a museum of dynamical oddities, and nowhere is that more evident than here. For decades, these motions puzzled researchers. Neptune's gravitational pull was too weak to force such extreme behaviors, and chaotic interactions among small bodies alone could not sustain them over billions of years. Something heavier, quieter, more distant, would be required to sculpt such graceful yet defiant arcs. The elegant possibility was Planet 9, a massive, unseen companion drifting in a dark corridor far beyond Neptune. Simulations built by Konstantin Batygin and Mike Brown began to trace out how this hidden world could tug gently over cosmic time. The model works not by violent disruption but by subtle persistence. A gravitational breeze rather than a storm. Over millions of years, Planet 9's gravity reaches out like a long, faint tide, nudging these icy bodies in tiny increments, each push nearly invisible, yet collectively powerful. In the slow meditation of cosmic time, such nudges accumulate, gradually lifting some orbits into steep inclinations, flipping others until they move backward. As Batygin once said, Planet 9 is not a wrecking ball. It's a sculptor working on a canvas of ice. The simulations reveal something poetic in their precision. Without Planet 9, the orbits scatter chaotically, drifting like dust in a sunbeam. With Planet 9, they begin to settle into patterns, faint but unmistakable. Orbits align in clusters. Inclinations rise in predictable families. Retrograde paths emerge with a logic that feels almost inevitable. This is what astrophysicists call a dynamical fingerprint, a signature woven into motion rather than light. Yet the scientific story is only one part. The emotional reality is that these distant objects feel like characters in a cosmic tale. Each one, turning in its strange way, speaks of a past encounter, a gravitational memory etched into its path. The solar system, often imagined as a clockwork machine, reveals here a softer side, like a family of wanderers who never fully learned to orbit in harmony. Planet 9 then becomes the hidden conductor, guiding them with a baton made not of wood but of gravity. The resonance between observation and simulation deepens the mystery. The retrograde objects in particular stand out like reversed brushstrokes in a painting. Their paths cross the solar system at impossible angles, moving in a direction that should have been erased long ago by gravitational encounters with Neptune. But Neptune had no such opportunity, because Planet 9's slow and steady presence lifts these objects into safe realms where the gas giants cannot reach. In the words of planetary scientist Renu Malhotra, these orbits feel protected by an unseen guardian. To visualize the mechanism, imagine a child pushing a swing not with strong shoves but with gentle, repeated touches. Each nudge is small, almost unnoticed, but with enough time the swing rises higher and begins a new rhythm. Planet 9 delivers its gravitational touches in the same way, not forcing motion but encouraging it, lifting or tilting until the orbits find a new equilibrium far from their original plane. In cosmic terms, it is a lesson in patience, in how tiny forces over immense time reshape the architecture of a system. Several astronomers have expressed this wonder in their own words. Michael Bannister noted that the outer solar system is whispering its secrets through these tilted orbits, while Mike Brown once said, "When you see so many objects disobey the planetary plane in the same way, you must assume someone taught them the same disobedience." These reflections capture the blend of science and poetry that often emerges when studying regions so remote from human experience. As the narrative drifts forward, the retrograde bodies remain the most haunting. Their reversed path suggests not merely a slow inclination but a full evolutionary arc, as if they turned around to look back at the sun from a different perspective. Some researchers interpret this as strong evidence of a massive perturber, because only a sustained gravitational torque from a distant planet could gradually flip an orbit entirely without shattering it. It is a transformation requiring billions of years, a slow rotation of destiny. Simulations show that as Planet 9 moves along its elongated orbit, it periodically shares energy with these small bodies. The exchange is subtle, almost like two dancers adjusting their steps to keep balance. Over eons, the objects rise out of the planetary plane, drifting into high inclinations that seem to slice the solar system in half. And in some cases, the angle grows so steep that the orbit inverts completely, becoming retrograde. At that moment, the object crosses an invisible threshold, joining a rare class of wanderers that travel backward through the sun's light. Scientists often stress that such configurations should not survive the lifetime of the solar system without a stabilizing influence. The gravitational chaos of the giant planets would normally erase these extreme orbits, scattering the bodies outward or swallowing them into the void. But the presence of Planet 9 inches, the simulations provides a sanctuary, a region of stability carved out through long-term perturbations. This sanctuary is the heart of the argument. Even critics of the Planet 9 hypothesis acknowledge the strangeness of these motions. Some propose chaotic early scattering. Others suggest interactions with passing stars. But such processes rarely produce the cohesive patterns now observed. Planet 9 remains the simplest, most elegant explanation. In methodological science, elegance does not guarantee truth, but it often points the way. As we drift deeper into this story, the tone becomes contemplative. The tilted, orbits remind us that the solar system is not the calm and ordered cathedral we once imagined, but a living theater, shaped by ancient interactions and long-forgotten encounters. Planet 9 becomes more than a hypothesis. It becomes a character incomplete yet influential. A gravitational ghost whose presence is felt but not seen. And perhaps that is why the search continues with such devotion. Because to understand these extreme inclinations is to understand the deeper architecture of our celestial home. The retrograde paths, the wild tilts, the improbable dances, all speak of a larger harmony we have only begun to hear. Astronomer Greg Laughlin once said, "If Planet 9 exists, then these objects are its poetry." And indeed, they move like verses scattered across the dark. As Rubin Observatory prepares to open its eye to the night sky, the mystery enters a new chapter. The tilted and retrograde orbits will either gain stronger statistical backing or dissolve into a broader is less than span style. Equals white space. Pre is greater than is less than. Span is greater than more chaotic population. But until that verdict arrives, the story of Planet 9 remains suspended in a gentle cosmic tension. A question hovering at the edge of starlight. And so the objects keep drifting, cutting strange lines across the solar system like brushstrokes from an unseen painter. Their motions remind us that the universe often reveals truth not in brightness but in subtle motion. The way a leaf turning upstream tells of a hidden current. Planet 9 may be that current, steady and silent, reshaping the dark outskirts of our sun's domain. In this quiet region where science becomes a kind of meditation, the retrograde bodies glide like monks chanting in reverse, carrying messages written in inclination, precession, and slow, timeless drift. To watch them is to feel the presence of something larger, something patient, something that leaves no footprint except in the paths of icy wanderers. And as we breathe with the rhythm of their faraway motion, we return to the same whispering question that began this contemplation. What force teaches so many distant worlds to tilt and turn against the grain, and whose hand guides them through the dark, out beyond the familiar glow of our inner worlds, in that quiet kingdom where sunlight weakens into a pale silver breath? The solar system begins to behave in ways that seem to betray its own laws. Astronomers have long suspected that something unseen is sculpting the darkness out there, something massive yet patient, something that moves with the dignity of an ancient giant. When they studied the farthest icy objects, they found not chaos but rhythm, not randomness but a strange choreography that suggested a guiding hand. And among the subtlest clues is the quiet river of matter slowly drifting inward from the deep cold, a flux of bodies slipping past Neptune like messengers from a hidden realm. This stream of wandering objects is no ordinary current, for in a solar system without Planet 9, it should simply not exist. Neptune is a fearsome gatekeeper, a guardian that tends to scatter most objects outward with its immense gravity. Anything that comes too close is flung away into darkness, never to return. Yet, in our observations, we see something profoundly different. Dozens of icy fragments drifting inward as if some distant force were gently steering them toward the inner giants. Here, the story becomes astonishing. For simulations predict that if Planet 9 is real, about 3% of all distant Kuiper Belt objects should cross Neptune's orbit at any given time. They should not obey the scatter of chaos, but instead follow this subtle inward tide. Without planet 9, this inward flow would collapse to barely 0.5%, a faint trickle where we currently see a restless stream. The universe rarely offers such clear contrasts, and when it does, scientists lean in with careful breath. So they looked at the sky with sharper tools, counted the faint signatures of distant objects whose orbits cross Neptune's path, and found 29 of them. 29 fragile worlds, each barely visible, yet each drifting in quiet defiance of the patterns we once believed our system should follow. Their paths are not accidental, not illusory, not statistical noise. They map a gravitational landscape shaped not only by Neptune's familiar pull, but by something farther out, something heavy, something persistent. When the orbits of these 29 bodies were compared with the simulations, the results were not merely interesting, they were breathtaking. The version of the solar system without planet 9 was rejected at 5 sigma, a threshold so demanding that scientists often call it the gold standard of truth. At 5 sigma, the chance that the pattern occurred by random accident is about 1 in 3.5 million. In the words of physicist Lisa Randall, the universe never lies in its statistics, only in our assumptions. And here, the statistics speak with striking clarity. Konstantin Batygin, one of the leading voices in this search, once said, "If you believe the data, then Planet 9 becomes the natural conclusion." His words are not the declaration of a dreamer, but the quiet confidence of a theorist who has watched countless simulations converge toward the same answer. Mike Brown, famed for uncovering some of the solar system's most distant bodies, echoed this sentiment in another interview. The outer solar system is whispering to us. You just have to listen long enough to hear the pattern. And that whisper grows louder each year as more objects are found moving where no known force should have placed them. There is something poetic in this evidence, for it is not loud, not dramatic, not the kind of discovery that bursts into human history with fireworks. Instead, it is the gentle shift of orbits, the slow drift of ancient ice, the soft but undeniable pull of an unseen world shaping trajectories over millions of years. It reminds us that the universe speaks in long sentences, in patient syllables, in gravitational murmurs that require time and stillness to understand. And yet, the mind naturally resists the idea that something so large could remain hidden. But distance transforms even giants into ghosts. And Planet 9, if it exists, lurks hundreds of astronomical units away, wrapped in a darkness so deep that only our most sensitive instruments can hope to unveil it. Its orbit stretches 10 to 15,000 years, a slow, frozen ellipse that places it far beyond the warm gossip of sunlight. Such a world, dim and distant, is not discovered by accident. It is found only by purpose, by persistence, by a willingness to look longer than doubt itself. The flux of objects drifting inward is therefore more than a curiosity. It is a gravitational footprint, the trace of a titan we have not yet seen. Each piece of icy rock, each faint world crossing Neptune's orbit, is part of a cosmic message written in motion rather than light. They tell us that something is stirring the darkness, nudging them inward, guiding their slow migration through the cold valley between the giants. Without that hidden influence, their presence makes no sense. Astrophysicist Scott Tremaine once wrote, "When the outer solar system behaves strangely, nature is granting us a clue, and clues should never be ignored." These 29 objects are exactly that. Clues scattered like breadcrumbs across the frozen frontier. And when seen together, they form a pattern too elegant to dismiss. The beauty of this evidence lies not only in its scientific weight, but in the quiet philosophy it invites. It reminds us that the universe is not always revealed through grand explosions or sudden revelations. Sometimes it is revealed through the slow and graceful flow of matter obeying a deeper harmony. There is comfort in the thought that even in the cold outskirts of our system, gravity composes a kind of music, a low and ancient hum, and that Planet 9 might be one of its hidden instruments. As we drift deeper into this mystery, the story becomes a meditation on patience, on the rhythm of orbits, on the long memory of gravitational tides. The flux is not an argument shouted, but a truth shown over ages. A procession of icy wanderers moving inward in silent unity. They are like snowflakes blown by a wind we cannot feel. A wind that might be the breath of a distant planet tracing its slow path around the sun. And so the question becomes not whether Planet 9 is real, but whether we are ready to see it. Telescopes grow more powerful, surveys more complete, algorithms more perceptive. The Vera Rubin Observatory will soon watch the sky with a depth and frequency humanity has never achieved. When its gaze sweeps across the dark frontier, that faint world might finally reveal itself. And when it does, the 29 silent wanderers will be recognized for what they truly are. Heralds of a discovery centuries in the making. Until that day, the inward drifting flux remains our most intimate whisper from the edge. A reminder that the solar system is not finished speaking. And as long as these distant objects keep crossing Neptune's orbit in quiet defiance, we will follow their path with the same steady wonder that guided every explorer before us. For in their motion lies the faint outline of something extraordinary. Something waiting in the darkness. Something that just might be the 9th planet of our celestial family. There are nights when the universe feels like a great breathing organism. A patient giant exhaling cold winds across the dark fields of space. And in those moments, when our telescopes stare into that quiet distance, the question returns like a soft echo carried by the cosmic wind. Why have we not seen Planet 9 yet? Astronomers search with determination and reverence, and yet the sky remains silent in that direction, withholding whatever secret waits beyond Neptune's lonely circle. Some people imagine that finding a new world is as simple as pointing a telescope toward the unknown, as if the universe were a calm room where everything stays still and illuminated. But the cosmos is ancient, restless, and in constant motion. And Planet 9, if it exists, moves on a path so long that human history itself would barely mark a fraction of one orbit. 10,000 years, 15,000 years. Time spans so great they feel like myth rather than mechanics. We cannot know where such a world is along that immense trajectory. For the icy objects influenced by it have not yet completed their dance around the sun. Their motion is the only whisper we have, and it is far too soft to reveal the exact step of the giant guiding them. Konstantin Batygin once said, We can calculate the orbit, but we cannot calculate where Planet 9 is on that orbit. And that simple sentence carries the weight of the entire mystery. For an orbit is only a path, not a presence. To find a world so distant, one must know where it stands on the invisible thread it follows through the void. Without that, the night sky becomes an ocean, and Planet 9 a lone ship drifting somewhere beyond the lantern glow of our instruments. Then there is the matter of its faintness. At the distance predicted by the simulations, even a world several times the mass of Earth would shine like a dying ember pressed against the fabric of space. The light it reflects would scatter across billions of kilometers, thinning like breath in winter air. Mike Brown once reflected, "It's not that we haven't looked hard. It's that the universe is very good at hiding things when they're far away." And his words linger like frost on the mind, because they feel both poetic and painfully true. Our largest telescopes strain their mirrors to the limit, gathering photons that left their source long before our species began to write its own story. But even these towering instruments, born from steel and starlight, struggle to catch the dim echo of Planet 9's existence. The world we seek lies near the edge of possibility, where the capabilities of our machines begin to tremble. Astronomer Scott Shepherd once noted, "Finding Planet 9 pushes the limits of what we can see, and sometimes even what we can believe." And perhaps that is why the search feels less like a hunt and more like meditation. We are sitting in the dark, listening for a whisper that might take years to arrive. When people ask why we don't simply scan every corner of the sky, the answer folds gently into perspective. The sky is vast beyond imagination. Even the most powerful surveys cannot look everywhere at once, and each exposure requires patience. Long moments in which telescopes hold their breath, absorbing the faint dusting of light that falls upon their sensors. But Planet 9's glow would be so dim, so fragile, that we may need countless images stacked together, aligned with careful precision, before its form emerges like a ghost rising from snow. Every time astronomers think they have the right patch of sky, the universe shifts. The Earth rotates. The planets drift. The stars wheel slowly over us like ancient guardians. And somewhere in that moving tapestry, the possible 9th planet continues its silent pilgrimage around the Sun. The uncertainty of its position stretches before us like a great cosmic meadow, beautiful yet impossible to cross without the right trail. Yet, hope persists, illuminated by the promise of the Vera Rubin Observatory, a machine so sensitive that astronomers say it could see a candle flickering on the surface of the moon. Its camera will sweep the sky again and again, each pass like a heartbeat in the night. And with every beat, the picture of the outer solar system will become clearer, more detailed, more honest. The observatory itself seems almost alive, a great mechanical sage turning its gaze outward with unblinking devotion. "Rubin will show us whether Planet 9 exists," Batygin said, "and it will not take long." His words fall like soft snow, quiet yet full of certainty. There is a gentle beauty in this search, a feeling that reminds us of old European nights, when people would walk beneath the golden lamps of narrow streets, listening to the hush of the wind moving through stone alleys. The sky above them was the same sky we study now, the same cold mystery hanging over their quiet hearts. Today, our tools are different. Our questions sharper. But the longing is unchanged. We still want to know what lies beyond the last familiar threshold. What waits in the lands our sunlight barely touches. Some scientists whisper that Planet 9 might not be a planet at all, but a primordial black hole. A tiny shard of impossible gravity adrift since the dawn of time. Others imagine it as a failed giant. A newborn Neptune cast out of the early solar system, like a child wandering too far from home. And there are those who picture it as a captured rogue world, stolen from another star long ago. Each idea carries its own sweetness, its own poetry. Because each reminds us that the universe is far more creative than we are. And so, the search continues. Not as a frantic pursuit, but as a slow unfolding, like watching dawn rise over an ancient coastline. The light touches the horizon, revealing shapes we never noticed before. And just as the ocean reveals its secrets one wave at a time, the sky reveals its truths one photon at a time. Perhaps that is why the search for Planet 9 feels almost spiritual. It asks us to wait, to breathe, to trust that what is hidden will eventually step into the light. It reminds us that even in an age of powerful machines, discovery still requires humility, patience, wonder. As the astronomer Vera Rubin once said, science progresses best when observations force us to alter our preconceptions. And maybe Planet 9 will do exactly that. Reshape the map of our cosmic home, and teach us that the universe is larger and stranger than we dared to believe. Until then, we look, we listen, and we breathe with the sky. The darkness around Neptune remains wide and silent, but not empty. Something is stirring there. Something patient. Something ancient. And as we follow its faint gravitational fingerprints, the night seems to lean closer, as if inviting us to keep going. If Planet 9 is out there, its story is already written in the long, quiet arcs of the Kuiper Belt, in the tilted worlds that drift like forgotten lanterns in the dark. All we must do now is wait for the moment when the faintest spark becomes visible, when the hidden world finally rises from the cosmic sea and lets itself be seen. And until that day arrives, the question remains like a gentle tide breaking against the human mind. Why have we not yet seen it? And how close might we be to finding the world that shadows the edge of our solar system? In the dim outskirts of the solar system, where sunlight fades into a soft blue sigh, the search for Planet 9 has become a long meditation on human patience, doubt, and wonder. For decades, astronomers have lifted their mirrors to the sky like ancient monks, raising lanterns toward a sleeping mountain. Yet the mountain has not answered. They have traced faint shadows, chased drifting specks of ice, and waited through cold nights that seemed carved from silence itself. And still, Planet 9 remains hidden, teasing us like a distant memory we can almost recall but never quite grasp. The story of earlier searches is not a tale of failure, but of thresholds, boundaries, and the gentle truth that the universe reveals itself only when the tools of our curiosity finally catch up to its enormity. Subaru. Pan-stars. Dark energy survey. Each one tried to hold a candle to the cosmic night. And each candle flickered against distances so vast that even photons seemed to grow tired on their journey to Earth. The Subaru telescope on Mauna Kea is a giant of glass and metal, a quiet guardian above the clouds. But even giants can be humbled by the void. Subaru reached deep into the darkness, mapping swaths of sky with exceptional clarity. Yet Planet 9, if it glowed at all, glowed fainter than Subaru's limit. Its long exposures, stacked like breaths of a sleeping world, revealed other icy bodies whose orbits whispered of a hidden force. But the force itself remained invisible. As Dr. Mike Brown once remarked, sometimes the universe isn't saying no. It's simply saying, not yet. Subaru heard that not yet in the faint static of its deepest images. Then came Pan-stars in Hawaii, its great digital eye sweeping the heavens night after night. It catalogued millions of stars, comets, and asteroids. But Planet 9 sat beyond the reach of its sensitivity. Too dim, too distant, too ghost-like to leave more than a whisper on Pan-stars detectors. Planetary. Astrophysicist Konstantin Batygin once said, "If Planet 9 exists, it hides in a realm where the sky grows colder than our instruments can bear." Pan-stars, with all its brilliance, could not quite warm that cold region into visibility. The Dark Energy Survey went further still, covering 12% of the sky with exquisite precision, an accomplishment so vast it feels almost mythic. It traced galaxies at the edge of the observable universe, mapped cosmic filaments like threads in an ancient tapestry, and measured the subtle push of dark energy across billions of light years. Yet even this grand undertaking, capable of sensing galaxies older than Earth itself, was not tuned for a wandering ember just beyond Neptune's dominion. Its mission was to see the large-scale structure of the cosmos, not the shy glimmer of a frozen world drifting in shadow. The astronomers involved knew this, and carried on anyway, hoping to catch the planet by fortune, if not by design. They did not find it. But their work gave us something just as precious: the confidence that a deeper search was both necessary and possible. Across all these attempts, a pattern emerges, not of disappointment, but of progress. Each search exposes the next layer of darkness. Each survey sharpens the faint contours of possibility. Science often moves like this, not in leaps, but in slow breaths, deepening, refining, reaching a little farther each time. What we call failure is merely the universe teaching us patience. As the physicist Freeman Dyson once wrote, "The universe is full of magical things, patiently waiting for our wits to grow sharper." When we look back at these earlier searches, we see not the limits of the telescopes, but the boundaries of a chapter in human curiosity. Subaru illuminated a corner of the void. Pan-stars mapped the moving stones of our celestial neighborhood. Dark Energy Survey traced the great architecture of the universe. Three voices in a long conversation between humankind and the cosmos. None of them misguided. None of them in vain. They were stepping stones laid lovingly across a river of darkness. And now, As we stand at the edge of that river, the air seems to hold something electric. A sense that the next step may bring us face to face with a world that has eluded our species since the dawn of astronomy. The journey has been long, but every long journey changes the traveler. It has made us quieter, more careful, more attuned to the faintest trembling of light on the edge of the deep. In the quiet hours of the night, when telescopes hum like sleeping animals and screens glow with the faintest hints of movement, astronomers often speak in tones that sound almost spiritual. They know they are listening to the universe on its own terms, not ours. And so they wait, watching the sky breathe. As Dr. Batygin once reflected, Planet 9 is not just a prediction. It is a question the solar system is asking us. A question about gravity, motion, and the hidden architecture of our celestial home. A question we have been trying to answer with tools that were still learning to sing the right notes. Those earlier searches failed. Yes. But they failed the way a seed fails to be a tree on its first day. Their failure was necessary, formative, and ultimately beautiful. They taught us where not to look, how not to search, and what kind of silence Planet 9 might hide behind. Each attempt narrowed the possibilities, tightened the map, focused the path ahead. And behind all of it runs a soft, almost poetic truth. The universe does not give up its secrets quickly, yet it rewards those who persist with eyes open and hearts steady. We are getting closer because others came before, carrying mirrors into the night so that we might carry brighter ones today. Now the search enters a new era, one shaped by instruments more sensitive, more patient, more attuned to the faint rhythms of the outer solar system. But as we prepare for that new chapter, it is worth pausing in this moment of stillness, acknowledging the quiet beauty of the road behind us. The missteps, the surprises, the long nights spent listening for a whisper in the cosmic wind. All of it has led us here, standing on the threshold of discovery. And so we breathe, slowly, deeply, letting the vastness of space settle around us like a soft blanket, recognizing that science is not only calculation, but longing, not only measurement, but devotion. Perhaps Planet 9 waits for us, or perhaps it does not. But the search itself, quiet and luminous, has already deepened our understanding of the night that cradles our world. And beneath that deep night sky, one question rises again like a tide returning to shore. A question that guides everything to come. If all these searches have only brushed the edges of truth, what new eyes will finally reveal what lies hidden beyond Neptune's dark frontier? In the stillness of the Chilean desert, where the wind moves like an ancient storyteller brushing over stone and shadow, a new eye is opening toward the universe. It is the Vera Rubin Observatory, a machine so powerful that astronomers speak of it with a mixture of reverence and awe. For decades, we have stared into the darkness beyond Neptune, searching for patterns that whisper of a hidden world. And for decades, the silence has answered us back. Yet now, for the first time in human history, we hold an instrument capable of flooding that silence with light. There is a moment every scientist knows, when an idea that once lived only in equations begins to glow at the edges of possibility. Planet 9 has lived there for years. Uncertain, elusive, perhaps imaginary. And yet, as Dr. Mike Brown once said, the sky is full of secrets, but the universe is patient enough to reveal them when we finally build the right tools. The Vera Rubin Observatory is precisely that tool. An observatory so swift, so sensitive, that it can take a deep portrait of the entire visible sky every 3 nights. To understand how astonishing that is, imagine painting a cathedral ceiling while the sun moves across it. Then painting it again before the memory of your first brushstroke fades. The universe is that cathedral, stretching across billions of light years. Yet Rubin can sweep across it with quiet confidence. Its camera is the largest ever built, an instrument that sees with a patience no human eye could match. Engineers often say it is sensitive enough to detect a single candle burning on the surface of the moon. A comparison so gentle and poetic that it feels less like a specification and more like a promise. Dr. Jelko Ivezic, one of the leaders of the project, once remarked, "If the universe is writing its autobiography in light, Rubin will be the first observatory to read every chapter." It is a statement that echoes through the halls of astrophysics. Because the search for Planet 9 is not merely a hunt for another world. It is an attempt to complete the map of our celestial home. The reason Rubin can image the entire sky so quickly lies in its design. A fusion of vast aperture and breathtaking speed. But the true marvel is not the engineering. It is the way the observatory moves. Gracefully. Like a dancer shifting from one pose to the next. Never lingering. Never sleeping. Every exposure it takes is a heartbeat. And with each heartbeat it reveals faint worlds drifting at the edge of creation. For astronomers searching for Planet 9, this rhythm is everything. The suspected planet moves slowly through the darkness, its orbit stretching 10 to 15,000 years. A path so long and cold that even sunlight arrives tired and scattered. A world like that is nearly invisible, fading into the cosmic background as though shy of being found. But Rubin does not rely on brightness. It relies on persistence. The sky it captures tonight will be compared to the sky captured 3 nights from now. And then, again and again. In that river of images, a faint point of drifting light may betray itself. A single pixel shifting its place over months, over years. And that shift, that tiny movement, could be the signature of Planet 9. Dr. Konstantin Batygin, whose simulations reignited the search, often describes Planet 9 as a gravitational ghost. He once said, "We may never hear its voice directly, but we see the ripples it leaves in everything around it. Those ripples are written into the strange clustering of distant icy orbits, into the detached objects drifting far outside Neptune's influence, into the peculiar, almost rebellious, orbits that move at impossible angles. But ripples are not proof. They are invitations. And Rubin is the first instrument capable of answering them with certainty. A soft truth hums beneath all of this. A truth older than science, older than language. Humans look outward because something within us remembers the night sky not as a canvas, but as a companion. We chart the heavens the way sailors once charted the sea, by trusting the invisible currents that guide us forward. Planet 9 has become one of those currents. Whether it exists or not, its absence and presence both reshape our understanding of the solar system. If Rubin finds it, we will confirm that our family of planets was never complete, that a distant sibling has been wandering in exile since the dawn of the sun. If Rubin finds nothing, then the cosmos challenges us to rewrite the very rules we thought were immutable. In that sense, the search is not simply scientific. It is deeply human. Astronomer Dr. Gregory Laughlin once reflected, "Every time we widen our view of the sky, we widen the borders of human imagination." His words linger here, because Rubin will widen that view more than any instrument before it. It will gather 10 years of images, each one a layer of memory, each one a whisper of truth. And somewhere in that accumulation of whispers, the universe may finally say yes or no to Planet 9. The observatory is nearly ready, its mirrors polished like still water, its camera waiting like an open eye. Engineers speak of alignment and calibration, but what they are truly preparing is a moment of awakening. When the first photons strike Rubin's sensor, they will have traveled across billions of kilometers, carrying stories older than Earth's mountains. And within 1 to 2 years, those stories will reveal whether a hidden planet circles far beyond our sight. The waiting is almost meditative, a collective inhale shared by everyone who has ever lifted their gaze toward the stars. Soon we will exhale, and the truth will enter the world like dawn breaking over a quiet sea. As we drift through this unfolding chapter, it becomes clear that the search for Planet 9 is less about discovery and more about the humility of not knowing. Science thrives in that humility, inviting us to approach the cosmos not with certainty but with wonder. The Vera Rubin Observatory embodies that spirit, a reminder that illumination does not come from brightness alone, but from patience, repetition, and the courage to look again. Somewhere in the darkness, a world may be waiting, a silent sentinel tracing its cold arc around the sun. And whether we find it or find the reasons it eludes us, Rubin will change the way we see the night sky forever. In this gentle anticipation, the universe feels almost alive, as if leaning toward us with a quiet smile, reminding us that even after centuries of exploration, there are still corners of our own solar system wrapped in mystery. And soon, very soon, the darkness at the edge of everything we know will begin to brighten. And when it does, we will finally hear the answer that has lingered like a distant heartbeat. Is Planet 9 truly out there, waiting for us to see it? In the distant quiet of the outer solar system, where sunlight thins into a pale breath and the dark folds of space ripple like a sleeping ocean, scientists find themselves standing before a strange possibility, a crossroads between what we think we know and what nature may still be hiding. For years, the evidence for Planet 9 has whispered from the edges of our celestial map. Curved orbits, clustered paths, distant bodies behaving as though pulled by an unseen hand. Yet science is a discipline of patience, humility, and relentless questioning. So we must ask ourselves with the gentleness of a night breeze drifting across old observatories, if not planet 9. Then what is sculpting these patterns in the dark? Some astronomers begin with the soft but persistent notion of observational bias. The idea that our telescopes are not only windows but also mirrors, reflecting our limitations back at us. Perhaps the apparent alignment of faraway objects is nothing more than the partial light we have managed to collect. A trick of perspective. A cosmic illusion woven from incomplete data. The universe is under no obligation to make itself easy to observe. The astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson once remarked. And in this case, his words settle over the problem like a cool layer of starlight. If our telescopes look in one direction more often than another, if our surveys favor certain regions of the sky over others, we may be sculpting patterns that do not truly exist. But when one theory weakens, another rises. And here the story drifts 4 billion years into the past. Back to a time when Neptune itself may have marched outward like a wandering monarch, nudging, capturing, and scattering icy objects as it moved through the newborn solar system. Some scientists propose that this ancient migration carved the very patterns we now attribute to Planet 9. That these distant bodies are the fossils of a celestial upheaval. A reshuffling of worlds so long ago that almost nothing remains except the ghostly arcs of their orbits. The astronomer Konstantin Batygin once said, "The outer solar system is a gravitational crime scene, and Neptune may be the suspect whose fingerprints linger in the cold." Yet even this elegant idea falters under scrutiny, because Neptune's influence alone struggles to explain the most extreme orbits destined to wander far beyond its gravitational reach. Still, curiosity encourages boldness, and science sometimes allows itself to dream at the edge of what we can justify. From that dream emerges one of the strangest proposals of all. The idea that the invisible sculptor of these distant orbits might not be a planet at all, but a primordial black hole, a relic from the earliest heartbeat of the cosmos. Imagine something no wider than a coin, yet possessing the mass of a world, drifting through the dark like a microscopic god of gravity. Its event horizon, only a few centimeters across, would swallow no light large enough for us to see, rendering it as silent and invisible as a thought that never becomes a word. Theoretical physicist Stephen Hawking once mused, "Black holes are not the eternal prisons we once thought." And perhaps in some distant corner of the solar system, one such ancient prisoner has been drifting free for billions of years. Between the speculative and the sublime lies another possibility, one that feels strangely poetic in its loneliness. Planet 9, if it exists, may not be native to our Sun at all. Some astronomers suggest it could be a rogue planet, a world born around another star, wandering the galaxy like a pilgrim without a shrine. In the crowded nursery where our Sun was born, young stars passed dangerously close to one another. And in those chaotic embraces, worlds may have been traded like forgotten gifts. Perhaps our Sun reached out with its newborn gravity and stole this orphan planet, binding it into a cold, elongated orbit that would take tens of thousands of years to complete. It is a romantic vision, almost mythic. A world captured not by force, but by the quiet insistence of celestial attraction. As these theories drift and circle like small moons around a larger question, we begin to sense that the real heart of the mystery lies in our yearning itself. The astrophysicist Carl Sagan once said, "Somewhere, something incredible is waiting to be known." And those words resonate through every idea we summon to replace or support Planet 9. Whether we imagine observational tricks, ancient planetary migrations, microscopic black holes, or stolen worlds, we are really reaching for the same thing: a deeper understanding of the fragile architecture that holds our cosmic neighborhood together. Each alternative explanation flows into the next like the slow exhale of a sleeping universe. And as we follow these currents, we feel the rhythm of a larger truth. Our models are provisional, our observations incomplete, our questions only half-formed. And yet, in this uncertainty, there is a profound beauty. Science does not move in straight lines. It spirals, returns, circles back, climbs forward, falls into doubt, rises again with clearer eyes. And so we drift across these possibilities not as lost travelers but as listeners, attuned to whatever faint gravitational music the universe allows us to hear. Even now, as telescopes reach deeper and algorithms sharpen their patterns, we sense a quiet threshold approaching. The Vera Rubin Observatory will soon sweep the sky with a sensitivity unmatched in human history. And in its long, meditative survey, we may finally see whether the shadows we have been chasing belong to a world, a black hole, or simply to our own misunderstandings. The astronomer Michael Brown once said, "Nature will tell us the truth. All we need to do is look carefully." And the next few years may reveal more truth than we dared hope for. For now, we rest in the gentle uncertainty between knowledge and imagination, feeling the slow drift of celestial bodies shaping the architecture of our thoughts. Whether Planet 9 is real, or whether its absence leads us toward an even stranger revelation, the story compels us to listen more deeply to the faint gravitational threads that bind our cosmic home. And as the night sky stretches overhead, vast and patient, we breathe with it, letting scientific curiosity melt into something softer, something like wonder. For, in the end, every possibility we explore is simply another way of asking the universe who we are. And so we drift onward, suspended in this quiet cosmic meditation, waiting for the next revelation to rise like dawn beyond the orbit of Neptune. In the drifting twilight of the outer solar system, where sunlight fades into a thin silver breath, the question of Planet 9's origin hangs like a lantern suspended in the dark. For a world so distant, so cold, so hidden beyond the reach of ordinary telescopes, its story feels almost like a forgotten myth whispered by the Kuiper winds. And yet, within that myth lies a scientific riddle that has captivated astronomers for decades. As Professor Konstantin Batygin once said, "A good theory is one that explains what you see and predicts what you don't yet know." Planet 9 does both, and the way it may have formed is a tale woven from chaos, gravity, and cosmic accident. Some scientists imagine Planet 9 as the exiled heart of a giant, icy world. A planetary embryo that began its life as one of our system's great children, growing in the warm cradle of the early sun. In those primal days, when the solar system was only a swirling disk of rock dust, and frozen gases. Embryonic worlds collided like slow-dancing titans. Cores merged. Atmospheres ignited. And the architecture of today's planets began to take shape with a kind of violent harmony. Inside that embryonic chaos, a lone giant may have spiraled too near Jupiter or Saturn, encountering a gravitational shove so powerful that it was flung outward like a snowflake hurled into the abyss. What remained was a wounded core, stripped of its growing atmosphere, thrown beyond the glow of its siblings. Dr. Scott Tremaine of the Institute for Advanced Study once reflected, "Planetary systems are sculpted by violence, and sometimes the most distant worlds tell the story of the blows they once survived." If this is true, Planet 9 is a survivor, a scarred relic, an ancient wanderer that carries within it the memory of the solar system's birth. Its deep, cold mantle may still preserve frozen layers from before Earth even existed, like tree rings of a forgotten winter. And as we imagine that exiled core drifting farther and farther into the black, we begin to see why its gravity still whispers across billions of kilometers. It tugs on the Kuiper Belt, bends orbits, gathers distant objects into a strange cosmic choreography. It has become the conductor of a silent symphony at the edge of the sun's domain. Yet another possibility beckons us with equal mystery. Soft as stardust, and bold as theory can be, perhaps Planet 9 was never ours to begin with. Perhaps it came from another star altogether, a pale rogue planet drifting freely through interstellar night. A loner, a drifter, moving between suns without allegiance. These rogue planets are not science fiction but real cosmic refugees, flung from their birth systems during gravitational battles or stellar migrations. Dr. Sarah Seeger of MIT once noted, "The galaxy may be filled with planets that have no star to call home." Imagine one of these silent travelers passing near our infant sun, wandering too close, brushing against the gravitational tide of our newborn solar system. In that fragile moment, like two dancers meeting in a crowded hall, the sun might have caught it, pulling it into a slow, elongated orbit that carried it far beyond Neptune. And just like that, the stranger would have become family. There is something hauntingly beautiful in this idea. The notion that our solar system is not a closed story but a tapestry woven with threads from distant stars. That somewhere, in the deep dark beyond Pluto, a world is circling the sun that once knew the light of another sky. If Planet 9 is such a wanderer, then it carries with it not just foreign rock and ice, but foreign history. It becomes a messenger from another system, a reminder that stellar nurseries were crowded, chaotic, and interconnected. Stars are born in clusters, and their planets are not always loyal. Astrophysicist Gregory Laughlin once remarked, "Through that lens, Planet 9 is a cosmic orphan adopted by our sun." The truth, as always in astronomy, may lie somewhere between these extremes. It may be part exile, part wanderer, part relic. The early solar system was a place of ceaseless dance, where gravity sculpted with both tenderness and cruelty. When we study the orbits of distant icy bodies, we see the fingerprints of something massive pulling them into alignment, not by force, but by persistence over billions of years. Batygin himself described it as a cosmic shepherd guiding these objects into their strange, improbable harmony. That shepherd must have a story. And understanding that story means understanding how nature forms worlds on the edge of darkness. As we drift deeper into the question, it becomes clear that Planet Nine's origin is not just about mechanics or equations. It is about time, memory, and the way the universe keeps archives in the most unlikely corners. Worlds on the inside change quickly. Heated, battered, reshaped by geology and suns. Worlds on the outside, frozen, slow, drifting in solitude, become containers of ancient truth. If Planet Nine began as a cast-out core, it carries the fossil of our system's turbulent birth. If it arrived as a rogue, then it carries the fingerprint of an alien star. Either way, it becomes a bridge between epochs, a quiet archive of a past we can no longer witness. And perhaps that is why the search feels spiritual as much as scientific. To look for Planet Nine is to look for a missing chapter in our cosmic autobiography, a chapter written in cold orbits and dim light. When astronomers point their telescopes toward the faintest edges of the map, they are not just hunting a planet. They are hunting our origins. The Vera Rubin Observatory, soon to awaken its giant eye, may finally reveal the truth. It will sweep the heavens with a rhythm like breathing, gathering starlight, dust, and motion. It may capture the faint, wandering glow of the world we have been imagining for so long. If Planet Nine is found, its story will echo with everything we already know and everything we still fear to discover. For in the fairest outskirts of the solar system, science becomes myth, and myth becomes science. That silent, distant world, whichever star first warmed it, will remind us that nothing in the universe is truly alone. Worlds drift, stars migrate, histories intertwine. And in that grand cosmic movement, our own sun is merely one voice in a chorus that spans the galaxy. So we sit at the edge of discovery, listening to the faint pull of a world we cannot yet see, wondering whether it was born of our sun and cast aside, or born under another and drawn here by fate. Either story reshapes our place in the cosmos. Either story deepens the mystery of who we are. As you breathe with the rhythm of this quiet universe, let yourself imagine that hidden world turning slowly in the cold, carrying within it the soft, ancient memory of the solar system's dawn. And somewhere in that memory, perhaps, lies the answer to how Planet Nine truly came to be. The farther we drift into the outer dark of the solar system, the more its silence begins to feel like a question whispered into the void. For centuries, we believed we had already met every member of our planetary family, counted them like glowing beads on a cosmic rosary, named them after ancient gods, and imagined their stories woven into the sky above us. Yet now, after 200 years of searching, measuring, dreaming, we stand on the threshold of meeting a stranger we have long suspected but never touched with our eyes. Planet Nine, a ghostly mass hiding in the cold twilight beyond Neptune, a wandering spirit shaping the outer solar system with the faintest pull of its gravity. Astronomers have argued, doubted, calculated, and recalculated its existence. They have watched the Kuiper Belt twist as if moved by an unseen hand. They have listened to the trajectories of distant objects as one listens to a faraway bell, sensing the presence of something immense just outside the light. As Dr. Konstantin Batygin softly remarked in an interview that echoed through the scientific world, "If you believe the data, Planet 9 is not a possibility. It is a necessity." And so the dream sharpens. If we find this long-sought world, how will we name it? How will we welcome it into the shared tale of humanity? The ancient traditions rise first, recalling the mythology of Greece and Rome that shaped the very language of astronomy. Some whisper Persephone, queen of the underworld, whose yearly journey between darkness and sunlight mirrors the hypothetical orbit of a world that spends millennia hidden in cosmic winter before brushing past the realm of the planets we know. Others breathe Minerva, goddess of wisdom, a name that suggests the patience of long observation and the humility to accept that our solar system still holds secrets far older than we are. And then there is Oceanus, the ancient titan who encircled the world with his endless waters, a fitting image for a planet adrift at the edge of the sun's domain. But sometimes science smiles, and humor enters the conversation as gently as starlight slipping between clouds. When asked what he would call it, Batygin laughed, saying that thousands had already signed petitions urging the name David Bowie. And in a way, that suggestion feels almost cosmic in its poetry. Bowie, who once sang of starmen waiting in the sky, who built bridges between art and the unknown, who turned the night into a mirror for imagination. To name a new world after him would be to honor not just mythology, but the human spirit that forever reaches toward the infinite. Still, a name is only a doorway. The deeper question rises like a tide beneath every sentence spoken by astronomers from Chile to Hawaii. After all this evidence, does Planet 9 truly exist? Or are we simply reading patterns in the noise, projecting our need for discovery onto the faintest glimmers of data? Dr. Mike Brown once reflected, "The universe has a way of humbling us, and yet it rewards the persistence of those who continue to look." In that spirit, we continue to look. The gravitational signatures at the edge of our solar system behave like notes from an unfamiliar instrument. Unsettling, yet beautiful. Objects tilt together, cluster together, drift together as though guided by a conductor whose baton we have not yet seen. Detached worlds like Sedna trace immense ellipses that no known planet can explain. Others move backward, defying the harmony of the orbital plane. To many scientists, these motions are the fingerprints of a hidden world, a slow, deliberate, ancient world carving gravitational poetry into the fabric of space. Yet skepticism is a necessary companion of discovery. Some researchers warn that our telescopes have only surveyed certain regions of the sky, and that biases in what we've observed could create the illusion of alignment where none exists. Others propose dramatic alternatives, including the idea that Planet 9 might not be a planet at all but a primordial black hole, a relic from the birth of the cosmos, no larger than a grapefruit yet impossibly dense. Dr. Catherine Fries once said, If primordial black holes exist, they would redefine our understanding of dark matter, structure formation, even our own cosmic origins. Should such an object lie in our celestial backyard, the implications would ripple far beyond the naming of a new planet. As the debate deepens, the universe remains indifferent, offering no commentary, only the steady glow of distant sunlight upon distant ice. The Vera Rubin Observatory stands ready to break the silence, its massive eye preparing to sweep across the sky, night after night. It will capture the slow dance of thousands of faint worlds across a decade of observation. From that tapestry of motion, the truth will emerge, quiet but undeniable. Dr. Saul Perlmutter once wrote, "The universe is generous to those who bother to watch it carefully." And so we watch. The possibility of finding Planet 9 feels like standing on the shoreline just before dawn. When the first pale light begins to rise behind a horizon you've stared at all your life. Something familiar is about to change. Not with thunder, but with a soft, unfolding revelation. To confirm this world would be to close a chapter begun in the 19th century, when Uranus drifted out of place and Neptune was predicted before it was ever seen. That moment became a triumph of the human mind. Now, 2 centuries later, we may be about to repeat it. And what then? What does it mean to complete our solar system? It means acknowledging that we were never done learning, that the map we carried in our textbooks was always a draft, a beautiful but imperfect sketch of a far grander architecture. It means accepting that the universe does not exist to satisfy our sense of order, but it sometimes allows us to glimpse the elegance hidden behind what at first seems chaotic. It means realizing that even here, in our own celestial neighborhood, mysteries still thrive, untouched by time. In the quiet of night, when the mind softens and drifts like dust in a beam of starlight, it is comforting to imagine Planet 9 gliding through the distant dark. Patient. Ancient is less than #0. 5 is greater than waiting for us to finally look in the right direction. Perhaps it is a frozen giant cloaked in blue twilight. Perhaps it is a renegade core flung outward by some primordial collision. Perhaps it is a stray traveler from another star, captured long before Earth was even a dream. Or perhaps, in one of the universe's rare playful moods, it truly is a tiny black hole carrying the memory of the cosmos in its impossible density. Whatever it is real enough to tug on the threads of countless orbits, shaping the outer solar system like a sculptor gently carving stone. And in that subtle influence, in that gravitational whisper, there is a lesson about the nature of discovery. So much of the universe moves softly, almost imperceptibly, and yet its presence becomes undeniable once we learn to look with patience rather than urgency. If Planet 9 emerges from the shadows in the coming years, whatever name it takes will be less important than the way it reshapes our place in the cosmos. It will remind us that the frontier is not just in distant galaxies, but sometimes right here, hidden just beyond the last place we bothered to search. It will whisper that the universe is still full of corners unlit, still full of secrets unspoken, still full of wonders undescribed. And it will invite us, gently, humbly, to keep exploring. In the end, The question becomes not merely whether Planet 9 exists, but what its pursuit reveals about us. Our curiosity, our persistence, our longing to understand the architecture of creation. As Carl Sagan once said, somewhere, something incredible is waiting to be known. And tonight, as you listen in the soft glow of your room, perhaps drifting towards sleep while the cosmos opens like a slow blossom, you may feel the quiet truth behind his words. We seek not just planets, but meaning. And now, as we float deeper into the story, one final question settles over us like falling stardust. After all this time, after all this evidence, are we truly on the brink of completing our solar system? Or is the universe about to surprise us yet again?